Hey guys, what's up? Check this out. Two detectives are talking in their car when they get a call. Something's going down right now. Cut to a building where a crew of thieves gears up to pull off the plan they set. Each one puts on the disguise they need. Meanwhile, the detectives respond to the call. Detective Wells gets into a fight with a suspect, wrestles him down and cuffs him, but his partner slips and the guy manages to get away. Inside the building, the thieves start their big move, robbing the bank. Now dressed in black and loaded with heavy weapons, they set explosives in the elevators, spread chaos, and hold everyone inside at gunpoint. When a woman tries to hit the red panic button, one of the thieves stops her and forces her to call the cops instead. They grab everything fast, and as they're leaving, one of them flashes a signal straight at the camera. Police lock down the whole perimeter. A news chopper picks up word of the heist and heads to the scene. On the rooftop, a man in a police uniform waves the helicopter over. He pretends to be injured, and the chopper comes closer. But suddenly, he pulls a gun and takes everyone on board hostage. He's actually part of the crew. That's how they break out of the bank and pull off the plan flawlessly. After landing, they ditch the black gear, blow up the chopper, and vanish. Robbery complete. At a state prison, a man walks free. Meanwhile, the detectives from earlier start digging into the bank job. They find out over $2 million are gone. The man released is Ghost. He heads to an alley, recovers a stash he hid there, and makes his way to a Russian gang's building. He asks for someone named Sergei, saying a guy from prison sent him. Once inside, he shows his ID, disarms one of the armed men, and starts talking. Back with the thieves, they're celebrating, counting the cash. Jesse and Jake, two brothers, talk about visiting their father in prison. Later, Jake goes to see Lily, his girlfriend, and slips a ring on her finger. He proposes. The whole crew celebrates their biggest score yet. That night, the detectives keep grinding, combing through footage, searching for clues to track them down. The next day, the crew meets again. John Rahway heads home, and as soon as he walks in, he realizes someone's sitting in his living room. But as he gets closer, he realizes it's Ghost, who says hijacking the chopper has AJ's fingerprints all over it, showing he knew they were behind the bank job. Ghost used to be part of the crew. He asks about the money from that old heist, and about Lily, but John tells him she's with Jake now. Ghost shows up with a new job for the crew, and John says he'll talk it over with the others. Soon after, Gordon Cozier, the crew's leader, meets his sister Naomi, who's deep in her drug problems. Night falls, and the crew gathers again to talk about Ghost's return. He still carries weight because he never ratted them out when he got locked up. Not long after, Ghost crashes their meeting and runs into Lily, his ex. The air turns tense, but he says he's only there to talk business. His plan? Between $25 and $30 million. But it has to go down in 5 days, a full-on armored truck hit. He's got the route mapped out. Info he says he scored inside from some Russians. The crew doubts whether they can trust Ghost or the Russians. But Ghost just says greed never lies. Once he leaves, the crew argues. It's a huge risk with little time to plan, but the payoff is massive. In the end, they're all in. They start laying out the details, staking out the armored route, watching the convoys, studying the guards, and setting up positions for the job. Meanwhile, cops following leads get tipped off about a new heist. AJ hunts down explosives, flashes cash to a dealer, but the guy tries to scam him. A fight breaks out. The rest of the crew shows up just as AJ has beaten them down. The cops, chasing that same lead, track it back to a Russian mob. A shootout follows. One Russian takes a bullet, and as Wells chases him, another almost blindsides him, until his partner Eddie saves his life. The case doesn't tie the Russians to the bank job, but it does uncover clues of a new plan with explosives. Wells finds the name Delonte Rivers in a photo, and when he checks with Eddie, he learns that's Ghost's real name. The net starts to close in. Fresh out of prison, Ghost has to check in at the precinct. Wells gets the call and tails him, even with his daughter in the car. Ghost meets with Gordon and Jesse to hash out details of the truck job. As they split, Jesse flashes the same hand sign he gave to the camera during the bank heist, and Wells knows something's off. He tails Gordon in John's car, manages to grab their plate. The two notice they're being followed and get ready to act, but when they see a kid in the car, they wonder if he's really a cop. Back at the precinct, Wells runs Gordon's info and tags him as a match to one of the bank robbers based on build and height. He talks it through with Eddie, but Eddie doesn't buy it. Gordon's record is clean. Later that day, Gordon's sister Naomi disappears with part of his cut from the bank job. She gets arrested that night. Gordon rushes to bail her out. Wells and Eddie are there too, since the bills were marked. On the way home, Gordon and Naomi fight. She bolts again. Next day, the crew moves in on a $20 million payday. At the station, Wells is blindsided by internal affairs. They show him footage from another unit. Eddie caught on camera pocketing cash during the Russian bust. Wells can't believe it, but when he meets Eddie again, Eddie lies, hiding what IA told him. Instead, Eddie shows Wells proof he ID'd Gordon in the bank job footage. Now they can bring him in. At the same time, the crew puts the plan into motion. Part of them underground, disguised as workers. Ghost on the street, dressed as a cop. John on a rooftop with a sniper, and Jake running the traffic lights. The cops are ready to move in on Gordon, but Wells reveals the footage shows Eddie taking the cash. Eddie admits he grabbed it because his family's drowning in debt. Meanwhile, the crew is set for the heist, but the armored truck's late, and they start getting suspicious. John has Ghost in his sights with the sniper, finger on the trigger, but Ghost also suspects John might be up on that rooftop aiming right at him. Just as Gordon gives the order to take Ghost down, the armored trucks roll up and the plan goes forward. John stashes the sniper while Ghost stalls the truck at the light until the road clears. But when the trucks are about to hit the blast zone, a cyclist cuts in front, wrecking the whole setup. The armored truck slams the brakes and the plan falls apart. It was supposed to drop into the hole, but it's stuck in the street. The guards spot the crew inside the pit, and a firefight erupts. The thieves decide to call off the job. But John boldly steps into the street, drops a guard with one punch, and climbs into the trailing truck. He rams it into the lead truck, knocking it straight into the hole. Plan back on. John's cornered, bullets flying all around. Then he pulls a wild move, drives the truck straight into the pit, and it works. The shootout rages, but the crew manages to clean out the armored truck. The job is done. Detectives Wells and Eddie arrive at the scene and start piecing it together. The explosives, the tunnel maps, all of it tied back to the Russians. Nearby, they spot Jesse with a backpack and a gray cap, and the chase kicks off in the subway. Jesse bolts through the streets, shoving past everyone. He even gets clipped by a car but keeps running. He stashes the bag of cash in the bushes and keeps fleeing. After some jaw-dropping jumps, Jesse gets cornered, but he slips away with style. He dashes into an office building, throwing the place into chaos. The chase goes full throttle, people running everywhere. In the kitchen, the tension spikes. Jesse's cornered by Eddie. They face off, but the cop doesn't even raise his gun. Jesse pulls the trigger and puts a bullet in his chest. After that, Jesse keeps running. He gets into another heavy shootout and dodges a few bullets. Wells finds Eddie shot. He calls for help, but Eddie just asks him to take care of his family. Jesse jumps from a high level in a parking garage and escapes the cops. Meanwhile, Ghost gets a call from the Russian, Sergei. Sergei's furious because Ghost sold the same plan to another crew. But Ghost lures him in, telling him to meet at the Roosevelt Hotel, promising he'll hand over his cut. The Russians gear up, ready for a fight. Gordon's crew is at the hotel, counting the cash. 20 million stolen dollars. But Jake's nervous, worried about his brother, who hasn't checked in. Gordon leaves the money with his lawyer, Scott. After a while, Jesse shows up, admitting he was chased by the cops and shot one of them. The crew's furious. Arguments break out. Ghost notices the Russians have arrived and starts mocking Jesse for the mess he made, and Jake, bringing up Lily. Ghost slips into the bathroom, turns on the shower, and escapes out the window. By the time the crew realizes they've been tricked, the Russians storm in, guns blazing, hitting AJ, and the firefight explodes. A few Russians go down. The thieves try to escape through the back. AJ stays behind, makes a video game-style leap to take them out, but gets riddled with bullets and doesn't make it. Things get worse for the crew. Jake sneaks around through a window, flanks the Russians, and wipes them out. They say their goodbyes to AJ and slip away with the crowd. The group splits up. Gordon and John go one way, Jake and Jesse the other. When they reach their hideout, Jake finds Lily dead on the counter and breaks down. Ghost shot her and stole their money. The cops arrive at the scene. The two grab guns and decide to take on the police. But they don't last long and get gunned down. Gordon heads to his apartment, but Officer Wells is inside searching it. He senses someone's there and bails before it's too late. He jumps in his car and drives to the airport. Wells spots him and starts tailing. John calls Gordon, and they realize Ghost is after the money with the lawyer, but it's already too late. Ghost is inside the jet they plan to use, knocks out the lawyer, and takes the cash. Gordon shows up before Ghost can leave, they argue, and suddenly Wells appears too. The standoff gets heated. Then the shootout begins. All three get hit, but Ghost takes the upper hand. Just as he's about to finish Gordon, John shows up and drops him. Afterward, John goes to the cop, recognizing him as the guy in the car with the little girl, and tells him he should have stayed out of it. Gordon and John grab the money and get away. John, Gordon, and Naomi, high and strung out, drive off. So, what did you think of the recap of Takers? Drop a comment below and let me know. Big hug to everyone, and see you in the next video.